Another big week, sorry, in the Premier League, with some Champions League action and Europa League as well during the week. It's been an interesting one in Europe. We saw the Milan derby and Ibrahimovic against Lukaku battling against each other, a battle of wits. United, Sociedad, Spurs, West Ham, Mbappe, haaland, that sort of debate there, and obviously Liverpool and Everton will sort of be the main focus points today. Anyway, I'm here with Liam. Hi, Liam.
And
So, Liam, just to start us off, I thought we'd jump to the Premier League and talk about Liverpool against Everton and Carlo Ancelotti's tactical masterclass. To sort of, I suppose it was in a sense predictable. I mean, if this happened, 12 months ago, obviously I think, we would have been a lot more surprised. But given the way Liverpool are performing this year, and in 2021, they're really struggling for form.
yeah, and they have been since the season started. I think some of the players that they got really haven't lived up to their expectations at all, such as Thiago Alcantara. Um, it's a mix of things as to why he hasn't really. Um, I guess one of them being, I guess, Liverpool's style of play just doesn't suit him. Um, because we saw him play at Bayern and he was amazing. But I don't really know what's kind of going on for him at Liverpool. But it's not just him. I mean, they're struggling with a lot of players. Their forwards are struggling to score quite a lot. Um, Not only that, but their defence as well. The emerging signings of Ozan Kabak and Davies. I guess neither of them so far have really impressed too much. Kabak's already been involved in two blunders with I guess Allison and two big goal scorers. So it's kind of difficult to say where exactly this Liverpool team are going. Um, I just kind of think that they're believing their own hype a bit too
Yeah,
much is the problem.
I do think that's a very good point, and we did talk about this last week. That they could actually be buying into their own hype, and I wasn't so sure last week, but now Leicester and now Everton. It's really poor. Like I I'm not sure. I saw a statistic there the other week. So if this was the Premier League as of January 1st, 2021, so Liverpool would be 17th in the league. I mean, like they would
It's
be
poor.
like they would be below Sheffield United, which is it's very it's just strange, man. Like I don't really understand what's going on here. And I talking to some Liverpool fans at the moment, obviously on social media and whatnot, there will be people calling for Jurgen Klopp's head. Like, I mean, it's a short term solution is what I'd call it, but I mean, in the long term, like, how do you see Liverpool getting out of this hole that they're in?
Um, I think they'll bounce back from it eventually, naturally. I think it'll be impossible for them not to. Um, and I say that for a couple of reasons. I think we've seen it with Liverpool over the last couple of years. Some of their earlier seasons in this decade, the 2012 to 13, etc. No, they weren't great, but they came back the next season after, and I still think people remember the whole bottling scenario with Gerrard. Even I'm not quite sure how that happened, but I mean, 13-14 season they came second, and I think they were pretty unlucky that season not to win. So I think it's just a matter of time, honestly, for them.
Was that the season they
Um,
got 100 points but still didn't win? Sorry, was that later on?
that
I
was later on. They got 97 points and didn't win. Is
Was
what
it
happened.
90? Because I know what there was one season there where they got 100 points. Anyway, I'm completely going off topic there, but yeah, continue what you were saying.
So I think really the only thing that they can do is wait, and they can hope time will be good to them. I think once other players do start coming back. To be fair, I'm not going to use that as an excuse, but once people like Henderson come back, their centre backs especially. I mean, then they even Diogo Jota, kind of players like that they're missing heavily. They they need, because like we've all seen the fact that they're struggling a lot without those key players is the thing. So they really need to do what they can, I guess. While those players are missing, they need to not lose their focus, because it is clearly affecting them quite a bit. We're seeing that.
Yeah, go on.
Because we're seeing that with the results they're getting. So
Yeah, like I'm just looking here. Liverpool, of course, are sixth in the table. I mean, like it just seems so bizarre to see them so far down. But like the only team they're clear of are Tottenham in ninth, because obviously Aston Villa are on 36 points but they have 2 games in hand on Liverpool. They have 40 points. Like, were they to win those 2 games, were Everton to win their game in hand, Everton would go up to 43 points, Aston Villa would go up to 42 points, and Liverpool would be 8th. Like,
yeah,
and
it's
they'd
not
only
good for them at all, is it?
it's just like, I mean, for you now, is Europe in jeopardy for them? Like, I wouldn't really trust Everton or indeed Aston Villa to, like, I don't think, even still, after that performance against Liverpool, I don't think Everton or obviously Aston Villa are the most reliable to win both those games. Like, if this was Man City, or, obviously I'm just throwing names out there, it'd be, a bit of a, there'd be a small bit more of an inquest into that. But yeah, it's really, it's very strange. And as you said there, they've been really struggling for goals as of late. I mean, their top guys up front, just, the players aren't firing. Like Mane. Like, what's going on with Mane, I can't remember the last time I've seen him so poor for a team.
I don't think he's been on the score sheet this season either. Well, not this season. I mean, I'm talking about 2021. Correct me if I'm wrong, but especially in recent times, I don't really think he's been involved in the score sheet at all, actually. I mean, for someone who was in, I believe, the top 10 of the Ballon d'Or in 2019, that is pretty poor from his standards. But, it's not really my place to talk about why that might be. It's a lot of Premier League players are being considered, poor form this season. I mean, Salah in 2021, Martial, I mean, those are just some examples. I mean, Timo Werner, etc. A lot of players are being considered in poor form.
Yeah, I do. Well, yeah, I mean that is another argument, and I know it is the strangest of seasons, but it sort of really highlights how spectacular a run Man City are on. Obviously the record for matches won in consecutive matches won is 24. It's 24. Man City are on 18, and I mean the way they're going, like it's really. It really is. I could definitely see them doing it, and I know they've Manchester United coming up in a few weeks. They could maybe do something. I hope to God that they do. But the way Man City are going, they've just been absolutely phenomenal this season. But not to dwell on them too much, because I mean, obviously, that they're far and away, and I think it is important to address what is going on at Liverpool. I don't know. Like, I know Dejan Lovren, got injured, and it's been tough to find players. Like, I mean, if you're Jurgen Klopp now, like, what are you after a Merseyside defeat at Anfield? Like, how are you going to pick up your players after the game in the dressing room? Like, I know I've heard things about. I'm not sure if you heard this, but was that after the Leicester game, Anthony Robertson and Alisson, they had a scrap. They had a full on fist fight after the game in the dressing room, and Klopp had to come in and break it up. Like, what is going on? It's just so bizarre, because for a team that 12, 18 months ago were winning the Champions League, they're winning the Premier League. These are the reigning Premier League champions, and they're falling off. Like, where did it go so wrong for them? I know injuries. I know obviously that, but I mean, if you're going to be one of the best teams, like what the reason that Man City are so good, Laporte gets injured, they have John Stones and Ruben Diaz. Like it's just, it's so. I mean, like, not to dwell on that too much because fair play to Everton, and I do think they played well, but Liverpool are just they're just a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, even the stats say that. Um, um, the stats do say that because, I mean, you look at the stats. It was 28 possession to Everton and 22. I mean, 28% to Liverpool and 22 to Everton. And I mean, even the shots on target. There's like Liverpool are able to register a lot of shots in their games, but the problem is the clinicality. There's absolutely none
Yeah,
because.
yeah, go on.
And I say that because it's like, you're seeing every game they're playing at the moment, they're registering 10, 20 shots on target or whatever, and none of them are being converted. Like I guess there's a bit of responsibility being put on players like Salah, Mane, etc. Because, I mean, they do need to step up, you can't deny that because they are kind of the talisman of this Liverpool team. And, if they're not scoring, then well, they're going to struggle.
Yeah, it is a.
I mean, that's pretty blatant, obvious at the moment with the results anyway. Like you look at all the other seasons. Just take for example Salah's breakage season, 16 to 17. He netted 32 goals in his first season. 32. That is, that's an impressive stat. And I mean, he single-handedly kind of brought Liverpool into the top four that season, without a doubt. And kind of, it's kind of now that it's a case of him and others aren't able to score. Like you can see that players are struggling to kind of, I guess, pick up motivation if they aren't performing. Because like I said, they're big characters in that Liverpool team. If they're not scoring goals or doing their thing, other players aren't going to exactly be the most, I guess, motivated to do their job anyway. And I mean, with the injuries of Alisson, etc., then kind of gives even more of a reason not to really be motivated. And injuries of, not Alisson, Van Dijk and Matip, Henderson and Gomez. I mean, we kind of started to see that they were losing this motivation, I guess, even back in September. Because, the 7-2, I think, was a big confidence smasher for them. And now, I mean, they're trying to recover. And I guess things just aren't going their way as well as they'd want to. And they're going to be disappointed about that.
But I do think it is deep rooted in the psychology of the team at the moment, because this is like I do think I will agree if COVID hadn't if COVID hadn't happened, I do think you might have gotten another season out of these players. But these players are getting old. They're and this is something that you have to take into consideration. They're getting older. I don't really think a lot of people take that into consideration. It will definitely be a struggle. It will definitely be a struggle for them to have a sort of a switch over. I mean, obviously they've their youth players, Nico Williams and Jones. I think he's been good this season. He's been sort of one of the shining lights in the team. But it's just like looking at Minamino going over to Southampton and he's playing really well there. It's sort of like Jurgen, why didn't you play this guy? Why didn't you give him a chance? It really is. It just goes back to the fact that he shows such reluctance to playing, to sort of building up a second team or anything like that, and it doesn't really make them look good. But I don't know. They're in free fall at the moment. But anyway, I just like to move over to Champions League. Mbappe and Haaland. First of all, who's better?
Mbappe.
Mbappe. You're going with Mbappe. I would definitely.
I say
Mbappe as well. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the Mbappe's been doing it longer than Haaland, and they're still enough age.
Yeah, like
And I mean, not even, I mean, this is kind of Haaland's. This is, but at the same time, this one is, because it's like last season was his breakout. This proving that he can do it in these top leagues. He's definitely not disappointing whatsoever. He's, you know, smashing in goals for Borussia Dortmund. He's with Jadon Sancho carrying what's kind of left of that team because they are a very good team this season, without a doubt.
yeah, but
And
I just think that, Mbappe and Haaland, obviously he's only 19. Like this guy, he scored, and he scored 40 goals this season, last season. He scored 40 goals last season. Okay? He was 19 last
yeah,
season, he scored 40 goals last season, he's got 9 assists. Mbappe, on the other hand, when he was 21, games 32, okay? Just clear that up. Same amount of games. He scored 30 goals but got 17 assists, which is something to think about considering that Mbappe plays in League 1. I would argue that Bundesliga is definitely more challenging than League 1. But it's just so kind of... I don't know. Like, is Mbappe is just rapidly fast, and so is Haaland. But I mean, I don't really understand how Haaland actually plays. It's the sort of just bully people out of the way sort of mentality. Give me the ball so I can just kick it into the goal. It's sort of old fashioned in a way, I would think. But Mbappe is sort of like I know me and Fionn talked on our midweek podcast last week about the match against Barca and how he was just leaving defenders for dust. I'm not sure if you remember, but in the World Cup match against Croatia, when he, like this absolutely blistering speed, this 18-year-old running from, his own half of the pitch, running all the way over to the Croatian penalty area and winning a penalty. Like this guy, he's just, both of them, obviously, but it isn't a very interesting debate, and I do think that it's going to be a good, like, I mean, Haaland is currently the top scorer in the Champions League with 8 goals. Like Mbappe, Mbappe, it's almost like watching Mbappe is like watching R9. It's obviously his performance at Man United, the 4-0 at Old Trafford. It's almost like R9 has been reborn into the form of Mbappe.
yeah, definitely. I mean, he's got everything. He's got the pace. He's got the power. You saw with his hat trick against Barcelona. That's kind of what the talking point this week has been about. Um, he's an amazing player. Honestly, I don't think anyone could deny that. And I do think the Mbappe versus Haaland kind of, I guess, rivalry is going to really be a good one for the next couple of years. I'm looking forward to seeing that because it sounds like a good rivalry. They're two upcoming talents. People are hailing them as the next Messi Cristiano rivalry, and I'd let that happen. Honestly, that would be it would be good because football has always been entertaining.
Yeah, it is it is a very interesting one because it's sort of like Haaland. He's sort of like Cristiano Ronaldo, making his debut for Manchester United 2003. Was it the EFL Cup final? Was it the FA Cup final? I can't remember. It was a final. Oh, it's completely slipped my mind. But he comes on and he sort of wows the crowd with a few step overs and tricks and everything. But he sort of focused then his career onto a great finishing ability and what he actually has to do to become the best player in the world. We'll leave that up for debate. But to become the best player that he can be, and it's as if Haaland has already started at the scoring, the just consistent scoring all the time. Like this guy has such a phenomenal record for Borussia Dortmund, even though like he's been there. I think that he has definitely been the shining light for them in what has been a pretty dull campaign for them this year. But I don't know. Like, do you have anything else to say on it? Because like this year he's got 17, he's got 20 goal involvements in 17 matches in the Bundesliga. He's got 8 goals in 5 matches in the Champions League. Like it's just absolutely phenomenal. And I really do think that, as you said, it will be a great rivalry. But yeah, do you have anything else you want to add to that?
I mean, I think the best thing for me to say is time will tell with these guys. I think that's the main thing. I mean, look, they're 20 and 22 respectively. I mean, to be putting all this weight in them already at this age, it's a big thing, you know? Um, like, they're really exciting to watch, the two of them. I love watching both of them play, honestly. I really do. They're both amazing players to watch on and off the pitch. Haaland gives some funny interviews as well after his games. And, I mean, he's just a pleasure to watch, both of them. I mean, Haaland, you watch his techniques in the games, and like the fact that he always seems to be on target with his shots, it's almost scary. You know, it reminds me of definitely, it genuinely reminds me of a Cristiano Ronaldo kind of figure, whereas Mbappe reminds me more of a Messi kind of figure. And I
Really?
say that because I say that because of the fact that Haaland, while he's obviously much taller than, I mean, while Mbappe is much taller than Lionel Messi, I mean, he just reminds me more of kind of Messi as a player. The pace, the power, I mean, the skills is the main one I'm on about, because Haaland is more of a big, giant goal scorer, kind of like Ronaldo was. And I think that's kind of where you can see the comparisons between both of them. That's what I like about both of them as players, watching them kind of try and, I guess, rival each other at the moment.
That's very interesting because Messi, I would have like Messi is a genius, and I think that goes without saying. And he can just, dribble around anyone. Like you couldn't get the ball off him in a you couldn't get the ball off him in any sort of, you couldn't get the ball off him in a wardrobe like. But he's just, I think, obviously, I respect your opinion, but I think like Mbappe is the sort of guy that you get the through ball into him and he's away and there's no way you can catch him and it's a goal. He's like, I don't know. It's definitely an interesting one, but we'll leave that up for debate. Anyway, on Sunday, we saw West Ham beat Tottenham in the London another London rivalry there. Mikel Antonio in the 5th minute, Jesse Lingard in the 47th minute, Lucas in the 64th minute for Tottenham. But I mean, it was absolutely incredible to watch. Like Jesse Lingard he's caught a second wind. I will say Tottenham did hit the woodwork twice and were very
Yeah,
unlucky.
Gareth Bale saw that. I did see that, yeah, but I think Tottenham's downfall was the fact they couldn't win this game at all. I mean, the fact that they, lost 2-1. I mean, I'm not disrespecting West Ham, but like, it's twice now this season that they choked it. I mean, first half of the season they were winning 3-0. I mean, full time it was 3-3, and then suddenly now they've lost 2-0 to West Ham. I mean, if you're losing games like this, then you shouldn't be playing. And Jose Mourinho's side has no excuse for the way they're performing, honestly. They really don't.
Would you give him time? Do you know what I mean? Like would you give him time if you're Dan Levy? Are you looking at Jose Mourinho and saying, "Oh, it happened at Chelsea, but that's a once-off. Oh, it happened at United again. That was just a coincidence. It's happening at Tottenham." And like, is is Mourinho everything he's hyped up to be? I do believe he's a world class manager, but I just think people are starting to see through him. Like I will, they had 70% possession, which Jose will definitely be happy with. But are you seeing the same pattern that I'm seeing? It's the teams that don't have the possession are winning all the games. Do you like? It's mad, really. There was only one offside in the whole game, and that was for West Ham. But I mean, it's so strange, like how it seems like in this COVID climate, without the crowds, the teams are struggling to break down teams that park the bus and go on the counter attack, which coincidentally is sort of Jose's style. But West Ham, I mean, look, it's quite obvious that early into the second half when they went 2-0 up, I could see why David Moyes would kind of go, park the bus. But what a job he's done so far this season. Like, barely avoiding relegation last season. And, you know, like everyone, I even predicted him to be out of the job by Christmas. But, like, what a job he's done for West Ham. And I just think they are a very talented squad. And do you think Champions League is a plausible goal for them this year?
Uh, I think more Europa League, if anything. Because I mean, they are in the top four, and that's a really big achievement for them. But I think the Europa League is more, I guess, realistic for them because you've got teams like Chelsea, etc., who are going to be kind of, I guess, trying to build themselves back up. And I mean, not only them, but you've got obviously Liverpool are going to be hungry to get back into the top four, without a doubt. So I definitely see them making it to the Euros though, and I don't say that lightly at all because it's a really big achievement for them what they've done this season. To go from a relegation side to where they are now is pretty amazing. They barely escaped relegation last season on the final day. I mean, that really does say something about them, doesn't it? I mean, they'll probably all be quite happy with where they are at the moment. I mean, I don't blame them.
It shows character, and I'm so happy for Jesse Lingard now, who has so he's already scored 3 goals, and if Declan Rice let him take the penalty, he would have 4. Like, it's like 4 goals in 2 games, 3 goals in 2 games as it is, but like this guy, so like he was just left rot on the bench for Manchester United, but I think I still don't think when he comes back that he'll start. I will be honest. There is that sort of position opening up on the right, kind of Lingard. Diallo will hopefully be implemented into the squad, and there's word of Sancho coming over from Dortmund, but the door has sort of opened up for that again, and it will be cheaper as well because of his performances this season and Dortmund's performances at that. But I do think I'm so glad that he's started performing again. But like, what about this system do you think suits him?
Um, Probably the fact that the manager trusted him. I think he was probably flattered at the fact Moyes wanted to sign him. I think that would have made him happy, kind of, because he wasn't getting played at all at United. There's no doubt in that, and I don't really think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer ever really had plans for him. So, with the position that he's in now, a manager wanted to sign me and he's playing me, starting me. He's going to have a lot more kind of inspiration to actually go out and motivation to do what he wants to do, and it's clearly working because he's on the pitch doing a lot of good stuff, clearly. And it is working for him, and I'm happy to see him kind of enjoying himself. Honestly, I really am. I think it's really good for him as a footballer.
Yeah, I'm looking at the lineup here, and Craig Dawson at centre back. I do think, I haven't really, admittedly, been watching him that much, but I do think that eventually his time will come to exit. And I mean, the door opens to someone like Ben White, who might be looking for bigger things, who might move from Brighton, or, they could pick someone up from the Championship. Like, you have Fabianski, Diop, who I actually rate pretty highly.
It's a D up, yeah.
Cresswell, Kufal, Rice, Suchek. They're they're like Jared Bowen, who I think has been a great signing from Hull City. Pablo Fornals, Jesse Lingard, and Mikel Antonio up top, who's like this guy now. He's another guy who's just like this season in the Premier League. He scored 6 goals in 9 goal involvements in the Premier League. It doesn't really look that good on paper, but I do think that he is a quality player, and he's definitely a sort of he's a big ego, but I think in almost a good way. Um, I think it's good for that West Ham team to have him. But I mean, it's just absolutely like I'm looking at the Tottenham team here. Like there's almost more talent in that West Ham team than there is in the Tottenham team anyway. Like Eric Lamela playing at Cam, Youngmin Son and Harry Kane admittedly, Højbjerg and Ndombele, Eric Dyer and Sanchez. Now, like the centre backs have always been a problem at Spurs, and Hugo Lloris has been really struggling for form, especially against Leicester. God, like he was terrible. Like any shot that was being fired at him was going in. But yeah, it really is interesting, and I mean I know I'm going on for way too long here, but like this is a club with big aspirations.
So I don't know what the solution is really to what they're doing, if I'm being honest. Because like, it's really difficult to say. I can't really put my finger on what Tottenham are doing, to be honest. I can't really put my finger on what Jose is doing either, if I'm being honest. I mean, like you said, he had the same kind of problem at United, was the thing. And it's kind of starting to happen again. And I mean, when he's losing games, he's throwing players under the bus a lot more than he should.
Do you think so? Sort of like a Lampard thing. I never really thought. Like, I mean, if I was, do you? Yeah, like that's a very interesting thing to say. But do you think like he was sort of a toxic influence to the Man United dressing room as well? Do you think this could be happening at Tottenham as well?
Uh, yeah, definitely. I think he's kind of shown it with what he's done to Dele Alli. I think he's completely kind of thrown him under the bus, and I don't really think that's fair on him at all. Because Dele Alli, as we know, is a quality player still, and I mean, you know, he's kind of flopped this season, and I don't really know why, but Jose
Yeah.
Mourinho isn't helping.
Anyway, we're just going to jump over to we're just going to have a quick run through the Manchester United Real Sociedad game last Thursday, and then we'll just talk about the Milan derby then after that. Um, so Liam, do you want to just give us a run through what went wrong for Real Sociedad?
I can't really put my finger on it either. I kind of thought they'd have been much better than they were on the day, but they really weren't, which surprised me, honestly. I thought they'd bring a much bigger challenge to United than they did, but United kind of just breezed through them.
It was as if they like if Solskjaer had to pick an exact way that Sociedad would have played. Like this is exactly it's as if Real Sociedad haven't watched Manchester United play at all in the last 4 years, and it was very poor. I was so disappointed with Oyarzabal and David Silva as well. Like I just don't think it just didn't it really didn't click for them, and this is a team that have been known to sort of go down under the pressure, but like it's just but like Man United, don't get me wrong, were fantastic, and Daniel James, like what has happened with him?
Yeah, he's had a bit of resurgence. To be honest, I can't really explain either. Um,
Yeah, like he is. Yeah, I get why it's kind of hard to explain it. And he did say after the game against Newcastle, that which he obviously scored again. It's been 6 goals in his last 9 games. He said that he's gone back and he's reflected on his game and on how to improve. But he really is such a talent, and he's got such blistering pace. But another thing I noticed was that he was actually going and winning the ball back. And since Manchester United are struggling to find a goal scorer, or indeed anyone who can play well on the right, since Greenwood was struggling for form, kind of picked up now. But if James can really keep this form up, then do you think he could be a real starter for Manchester United this season?
If he keeps improving the way he is, then yeah, I can see it actually. I think when James was signed, it was a bit surprising, but he's kind of he's proving everyone wrong at the moment, and I'm happy for him. The fact that he's doing that, I think it's good for him as a player. So I do think he deserves kind of where he is at the moment. I think he's done a good job, and I'm happy to see him succeeding.
As am I, Liam. Lastly, just before we finish up, I know you're on a very busy schedule. Inter Milan 3, AC Milan 0. It was Lautaro Martinez supplying 2 of the goals, and Romelu Lukaku netting again in the 66th minute for Inter Milan. I'm looking at the lineup, and there's one glaringly obvious thing about the two of them. The AC Milan lineup, it's sort of like Donnarumma to Ibrahimovic and anything in between. Like, Kjær, the former Celtic centre-back, Romagnoli, Theo Hernandez, Kessié, Tonali. Tonali's good, I will give him that. But, I mean, he's got a big... there's a lot of hype around him. Rebic, Kalahanglu. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that person playing right mid. But, it's just... there's a lot... I do feel like there's a lot more talent in the Inter Milan squad. And I just think, what about the battle Zlatan and Lukaku? It's insane. It's just so... It's such a good... And I mean, we don't usually talk about Serie A on this podcast. But I do think it was really... It was great to watch them. And, I mean, Ibrahimovic sort of claps as Lukaku nets in his goal. As a sort of fine, you've bested me, you are officially the best in the city. Is it... I don't know. Is it sort of like... For someone like Zlatan, with an ego as big as his... I don't think he would admit that easily, but that's a story for another day. What were your opinions on it? I mean, you probably haven't kept much tabs on the Serie A recently, but do you want to just give your opinions there, and we can wrap it up?
I think it's been quite a competitive league this season actually, and I think it's been enjoyable for that reason. I think the competitiveness has kind of shot up just this once, and that's kind of... I think a lot of that is because of all the marquee players that have been introduced. For example, like Lukaku has absolutely lit it up. I mean, not only Lukaku, players like Lautaro Martinez, Ibrahimovic, etc. They've all been superb, and it's made it a much more interesting league to watch this season, and I'm happy about that.
As it stands in the Serie A, before we finish up, Inter Milan are in the driving seat, 4 points ahead of AC Milan, who are in second place. Juventus are third, 45 points with a game in hand on Milan. Roma are in fourth with 44 points. Fifth and sixth stand Atlanta on 43. And Lazio on 43. Liam, thank you so much for talking to me tonight. Thank you at home for listening to the Sideline Podcast. Thanks, Liam.
Thanks, Anna.